Kagan. Dah.
පාදනා ජලාපහන මණ්ඩලයේ විදිහට ජාතියට මඟ පෙන්වන්නා විදිහට මේ ප්‍රධාන දේශකයන්න් එනගේ මහත්මයාණනි එවැගේම අධිරේක සාමාන්‍ය අධිකාරී බටහිරවා WGCL වීරසේකර මහත්මයාණනි ඔබට එවැගේම අධිරේක සාමාන්‍ය අධිකාරී උතුරු මැද ටී ಭಾರತೀදාසන් මහත්මයාණනි ඔබට අධිරේක සාමාන්‍ය
රස්සාවක් කරන්නේ නැහැ එතකොට.
මගේ වෝටර් බිල් එක හරි වැඩි.
මේ ආපල්ල අපේ වතුර බිලේදී කොහොමත් වැඩිනේ.
මතුගම කන්නංගර මධ්‍ය විද්‍යාලයේ KMW ගීතාවි සෞභාග්‍ය.
And with relation to clean drinking water and sanitation, I personally do believe that the Water Board by itself has done a tremendous job, along with WASIP and along with the Water Ministry by itself. But however, I do see a lot of issues within this mechanism. I do feel there is a need to modernize water supply and sanitation in Sri Lanka. There is also a need to make it sustainable, because right now in the situation we are in, majority of our problems stem from financial issues, and that in turn creates barriers in providing clean drinking water and sanitation as well. Now, I would also like to state on the stage that, many people would have heard the news that IMF has come on board, and how we all are going to get out of this mess. I would like to explain something to everyone. See, IMF is not a solution to the mess we are in. After all the protests, after all the issues that had taken place, we have to understand that we need homegrown solutions to sustain our economy. And the more we are reliant on, let's say, external players or external stakeholders, it's not sustainable. We can't have a country, especially for these kids, built on loans and wealth of other countries. That's not how healthy economy works. But one thing why people should be positive about IMF coming on board, more than the $2.9 billion EFF facility, I think we have to note the fact that this gives us creditor confidence. And when creditors have confidence, we will be able to take the country forward, especially with key players such as the UNDP or the ADP or World Bank for that matter. So I'd once again like to reiterate, despite looking at this through a political lens, we must also understand that we all share a collective responsibility. We all want change. We want free education, we want free healthcare, but we are not willing to sacrifice for it. And that is not right. And likewise, there are many other issues, even with water, for that example. I think the cost of water in Sri Lanka must be one of the lowest in the world. I mean, at least before the water tariff hike. So, there are many issues which we face as Sri Lankans, for which, we want a positive change, but we are not willing to give up certain benefits that we have been enjoying. In short, if I want to put this, the previous generation, through their political decisions and political policies, have made the future for my generation quite bleak. And right now, that is why I reiterate that it's a collective responsibility, where all of us must step up and take this country forward. So in order to do so, I would request all your support and all your cooperation, which I believe will be there. Now, apart from that, I would also like to state that in the GM's presentation, which was quite detailed, she had mentioned about climate change, how a 0.8 degree increase in temperature causes such a drastic change. And, because the decrease in rainfall is not something that we need to worry lightly about. Because I think the issue in Sri Lanka is I think we've been more worried about politics rather than administration, which is why we are in this mess. I mean, we are, after all, a country where religion overrides logic. So, with that being said, I hope I'm not saying anything too controversial. I can see some people getting worked up. But, no, with that being said, things like climate change and things like scarcity of water, the sooner we learn to deal with it, I think the more protected our future will become. I'd just like to give a small example. Recently, I had gone to Delhi for the Raisina Dialogue. And in the Raisina Dialogue, I had the honor of meeting the UN Global Water Champion, Youth Champion, Miss Anita Sooriyan. And she is from the Maasai tribe. And she had done a lot of awareness work, especially in her home country of Kenya. And she had narrated a story to me about how she had initially traveled to a school which was quite far off from the center, and how the school was isolated, as in no access to drinking water, no sanitation, but there were about close to 600 children over there. And when they had donated, after all, bottles of water, there were tears in the eyes of the children. And I think we all should, first of all, feel blessed for what we have, because there are those of us in this world who do not even have the resources. But our issue is we have the resources, it's not utilized properly. So my objective is to streamline and bring order to this mechanism. And I'm sure I'd be able to do this with the support of the Water Supply Ministry Secretary and the officials, along with the Water Board, the Chairman, the Board, and especially the GM, Dr. Vasanta, whose experience is my age. I always keep saying this. But overall, when she had narrated the story to me, I could just think of one thing. I mean, in Sri Lanka, we all have water at our disposal, especially if you take a look at the estate community. The estate community, the water source stems from there, and the water for the towns comes from there. But unfortunately, they don't have drinking water. And likewise, even if you take the north, which the keynote speaker had addressed, even if you take the north, in fact, today morning we had to deal with an issue where we wanted to give clean drinking water. I don't want to mention the name of the area, but you can just take it as a place in the northern province, where we wanted to give clean drinking water to, I think, nearly 50% of the population there, if it had gone through. But we faced political opposition with absolutely no relevant evidence that it would be detrimental. And, it just goes on to show the longer we are going to, the longer we are afraid to step on toes, the longer we are afraid to, do the right thing, then I think people are going to suffer. So I would just like to say that right now Sri Lanka is in the midst of change. Many people view whatever happened, let it be the Aragalaya, let it be the protests, the toppling of the government, resignation of the president, or whatever it is, many people view it as a bad thing. But I am personally thankful for it, because it's a reality check that we needed. For 75 years, we have followed terrible fiscal mismanagement policies. And, we've been following the model of a welfare and a populist state when we didn't have means to do it. So when that is the case, this reality check was much needed. And through this reality check, which we will use as an instrument, I feel we will create a new breed of politicians who would put country above personal interests and who would take the country forward. And lastly, thank you once again for inviting me here. And I would like to apologize for coming late. We unfortunately got held up in traffic. I clearly underestimated Sri Lankan traffic in the fuel issue as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for the performance. It meant a lot. And once again, we're looking forward to working with all our external funders. Thank you.